Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me, your host. We are a podcast devoted to founders, startups, entrepreneurs, also family offices, angels, venture capitalists, investment firms, that community, that ecosystem. And I want to remind you that we're available on all the major podcast platforms, Apple, Amazon, Audible, and everything else, about over 10 in all. Plus, for video, we're on YouTube and have been from the start. Done almost 60 of these, I think. We're also available on Spotify, both audio and video. So the point being, you can find us everywhere. Make sure to subscribe, to rate us, and to share and tell your friends. We would love that. We also have just started a companion podcast called The Angel. So we have the Accelerator and the Angel. So with that said, I want to introduce Jordan Schley. Hello, Jordan. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Jordan is the founder and CEO of Care2Talk, and that's spelled Care2Talk. Care2Talk is a telehealth platform starting in Canada, aimed at seniors, and specifically at what Jordan calls care communities. So I guess my first question, lots going on in the telehealth space. Why and how did you start to get involved in it and interested in it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, during the pandemic, my kind of grandpa was the kind of help Kickstarter, just with isolation and the restriction of connecting to families easily was a challenge. So we didn't get into the telehealth right away. We just got into like the communication part. So just simplifying the solution. So grandpa can call out, grandpa can call in, and making it really accessible for him, and making it like an app-based program for the loved one. So that's kind of how it all started. And then we kind of morphed into kind of health side as things were opening up in care communities or retirement homes. And so we kind of then got into the health side. So that's kind of where it all kind of started.
How about you personally? And you're in lovely Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, where it is sunny today. That's headline news. We want everyone to know it's sunny in Victoria, if not Philadelphia. But what about you? What do you have a particular interest in this space? And I believe you told me that you kind of went through something like this with your grandfather, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
It was just seeing what was happening. It was just very hard to connect. And during the pandemic, there was team links, there was Zoom links, there was Android couldn't talk to iOS, the FaceTime wasn't, and so there's all these different kind of platforms. And dealing with my grandpa and even my parents. My parents are in their 60s, grandpa's in their 80s, so there's still a disconnect of technology. So that's what kind of helped me lead, or help jump into this space. To kind of help, obviously, aging parents, and then connect with their parents at the same time. So,
right, and this idea of Care2Talk. So, how did you implement it, and how important was literally, verbally talking to your parents on your platform?
it was good. Like, yeah, there was obviously, when you do your alpha customers, or obviously the early first one, you kind of learn from it, and we just did a good job of just hearing feedback. We didn't start creating anything until we heard from customer use. So we kind of built it on the backs of seniors of what they needed most of the tablet, or what they're looking to get out of it, and then connecting with the family. So we had a good little, not research group, but just a nice little group of folks that kind of used it, tested it, played with it, tried to break it, and so that's what kind of started it.
So you literally gave seniors hardware. You gave them a tablet.
Yeah, there's one actually right behind me. Ironically, it's just a tablet.
That's a small. So it's actually an Android tablet.
It's an Android tablet. It's like an 8-inch Android tablet. So it's a
small
one to hold. It's on a stand, but we play with iPads. iPads are a bit heavier, so they're just looking for something, just kind of something where they could just hold and make it not a 10-inch tablet, but we did.
Yeah, and what happens on the platform specifically?
It's just video calling. So it's just a simplified video calling application when we first started out. So it was basically giving seniors the ability to enjoy the video connection that maybe the younger generations were having. So
right to their family, their kids, presumably, or the kids and grandkids. So
yeah,
it's like a direct connect. They just like press a button.
it's just for the seniors. There's just one touch of a button, so it's all faces on the screen. So they just hit the face, it calls, and then the other end is just an app base that families use to connect with the grandpa or grandparents.
So essentially, a private network to your family.
Yeah, it's closed loop. It's no one else can call into unless you've been invited to it. So the primary family member of that senior or that special in their life has permissions to add or remove people from senior's tablet remotely. So it's like a closed loop, no spam, no no targeting, sending bitcoins and stuff like that. So it's really meant to just more of an engagement.
And when somebody, when a relative calls in on that, I would think it's sort of like having a hotline. It's sort of like the red phone goes off,
Yeah,
and you got to answer it. It's important.
that's
It's
exactly.
brilliantly simple idea, I think. Now, but that's the talk part, but where does the care part come in?
So the care part is we when we're doing discovery calls with communities of how you connect with seniors. Now that Zoom has become very popular, it's becoming more demand. So a lot of seniors now that enjoy the video calling want it more, and so that position us in a way where we involve the care communities to do more of a B2B play, so it reduces their time. So we have some customers that have had over 2,000 calls, and so how they translate that into a perk for them. It costs about the community $30 to do a Zoom call, even though it's free, but it's the horsepower it takes to get a tablet, set the call up, engage the family. So that's how we involve the care. So we try to create more independence in a care community while making it easy for the care staff to making these simple connections independent of their day-to-day operation.
Okay, so let me rephrase my question slightly from asking about care, and we always love the dogs. We love to have dogs in our
Yeah,
podcast.
sorry about that.
Tell him to come on in and introduce himself. So rather than talk about care, let's talk about medical care or medicine or doctors. Or are they a part of this network, or is it all family all the time?
Yeah, so version 1 was just family, and now version 2 is the telehealth space. So the care communities could invite our doctors, nurse practitioners to call the tablet. The primary family member can book an appointment for mom or dad. So the primary family can actually be on the call of mom or dad. So we've kind of now introduced our care team that's kind of all remote, but the ability to, if you talk to your mom, she's not doing good, it's hard to get her a doctor's appointment in real time. Going to the hospital is not the best. And so this way the family member can be fully involved in the parent's health. And we do it across, we're in 12 different countries of calling into Canada. So it's cool to see Italian folks call in to get a doctor from Canada, connect mom, doctor, and have the Italian family there. So it's a pretty cool, again, engagement, but keeping the families together because sometimes it's too late. I wish I would have had this before. So we're more of a proactive approach than maybe
Right.
reactive.
And what do you charge for it?
So we have a couple different models. Like our straight fee is $45 a month. It's unlimited calling, unlimited contacts, unlimited connections to doctors or nurse practitioners. So it's a simple $45 subscription. We give the hardware for free, and it's all that stuff.
So that's and then the subscription. Did you say um, there's a subscription charge and also a care community charge, or is it $45 to the family and that's it?
That's it. Yeah. So either the care community pays $45 or the family pays $45. It's just one price, $45, and then it's free for the family members to download the app. And so it's one subscription kind of for the family.
How common is it for the community to pay for that?
We're probably about a 50-50 split.
Okay.
The reason why communities, they depend on if it's independent or retirement or assisted living, sometimes they share the tablet. So there's a different pricing model, but majority we just start off with $45 a month, and then based on volume or yeah.
Okay. And where is the service now? Where are you situated? I assume British Columbia, right?
Yeah, so we're in 5 provinces. So British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. So those are the markets where we could practice health and connectivity. But then obviously the connectivity side is it can be anywhere. It just can't.
So are there doctors on standby essentially?
Yeah. We have more medical people on our team than we actually do have employees. So there's it's quite a good mix. And
And are they staff? I mean, how do you compensate the doctors?
Compensate the doctor is just basically like we use it as an Uber model. So we pay them kind of a fee on our subscription fees, and so they can come to work when they want, and they still have their full-time jobs, but we kind of have a flexible work schedule for them to kind of be pinged when they want to join. So
I see. So if one of their clients, I should say, one of their patients, I should say, has a problem, they pick up the tablet, they hit that, their face, their picture, their photo, and they get connected. And does that mean the doctors actually are carrying these around?
no, so it's the other way around. So like the seniors have to make the appointment with the doctors on the next availability.
I see.
So as we have more doctors on our team, you can probably get some you can get same day, but it's a one-way in. So the seniors can't just call. There has to be a booked appointment either by the care community or the primary family member.
I see. Okay, so I'm beginning to get the picture here. So the tablet, is it fair to call the tablet a Trojan horse?
Yeah.
Okay, so explain that. So now that you start off with this blindingly simple idea, we're gonna give them a tablet. It's going to be a private network to the family and the family care people as you add them, and that's it. And you're going to pay a fixed fee for it every month. End of story. And I should ask, how many are using it now?
So we got thousands of users in our portal right now. We offer obviously the connectivity part for the loved ones to use our medical team as well for no cost. So it's we haven't really monetized or anything done that. We just kind of want to see it in use and working, and then we've been kind of rolling the model of how we go to market. But just obviously more users right now, the better, the more engagement, the more learning we could do. Before this is our second year getting into it. We're just rolling into our second year now. So
yeah.
From inception.
So I'm envisioning the Trojan horse. You're inside, you roll the Trojan horse inside the walls. What happens when you unveil a full telehealth platform that's different from what you have now?
Yeah, just like I guess at the end of the day, when we go into these communities, is it creates stickiness because that access to care when they need it, or for prescriptions or special appointments that they're missing. The cool part about our hardware is it's transferable. So if a senior passes or moves on, the next person could sign up without having a new subscription or canceling that one. So that's why we kind of target those communities. So, and then families use it like as our we kind of not gamified it yet, but if you're not using the tablet or the family's not using it enough, you'll get little reminders, little nudges, like how DoorDash notifies you at 4:00 if you're hungry or not. So kind of getting that engagement of.
Oh, really? It can. So there's a sort of a monitoring element. Would you call that?
Yeah, like if you haven't talked to your grandma for 2 weeks, you'll get like a notification saying, hey, when's the last time you connected with your grandma?
It's a Jewish mother.
Yeah, however you want to do it. But,
how come you don't call your mother, right?
Exactly,
I guess that's universal, not just Jewish, but that's everybody.
Yeah.
So, but I want to get back to the Trojan horse concept, because to understand that, what is the end game for you?
The end game for us is obviously target kind of the senior market, just because it's a growing market, but it's not very popular. It's a harder sales cycle. It takes a lot more work because there's hardware involved in a bit. So our end game is obviously when we do kind of get to a Series A standpoint, connect with a strategic partner at the end of the day that's in the health space, that's obviously knows it quite well. That's kind of the under 65 market group. So we could adopt or have synergy between. So that's kind of my end game is really break into the US with a Series A, but really having a strategic partner. We have partners up in Canada where doctors invest in us, pharmacies invest in us. but really get that level up experience in the US, because right now we're just offering in Canada.
So you've done a seed round?
Yeah, we've done a couple seed rounds. We just closed up our bridge round, and then the goal by mid next year is to do a Series A and start getting into a few states that are on our kind of target list for senior support.
A few of the United States.
Yeah, a few states. Yeah, a few states that have good programs and incentives to bring kind of engagement, telehealth, um, kind of platform to their state. Because obviously the popular states like California, Texas, Florida, those are big markets, but would achieve a lot of capital to go into them. But there's some good states that are just kind of small, quiet, flyover states that can still actually need the system. It's just not maybe a sexier state that one would.
I'm dying to ask you which states, but I think I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to let you keep that a trade secret.
Well, I'll give you one. Alaska's a good remote. It's above Canada, so it's kind of.
So you're finding yeah, right? Because Canada was not cold enough.
Exactly.
You have to go to Alaska.
Go up.
Go up further. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But seriously, are states where there is a more remote population attractive for that reason?
Yeah, there's states where where internet is growing, where like the bandwidth. So these new markets, because our tablets they rely on a lot of Wi-Fi base, and so as markets get the remote markets get internet and our expansion into that market, it becomes more adoptable for telehealth models and senior engagement platforms.
So this space is getting pretty crowded, isn't it? So tell me first of all, tell me how you as a company look at the space, and how would you describe it as of today?
Yeah, I think the telehealth space is obviously growing. I think over the past couple of years, senior care hasn't been like a popular, hasn't been top of mind. I think because it's a longer sales cycle, but by 2030 there'll be 20% of Americans will be over 65. Right now it's 10,000 kind of Americans going into 65 right now, and so it just hasn't been. It's a small group, but I think as the baby boomers are start doing what they have capital and they're retiring, they want to spend more on kind of health related services. So by 2030 this will be a dominant market, especially in aged care.
Well, Jordan, if you ever want to know more about baby boomers, be sure to ask me.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'm a bit of an expert on the subject, whether I want to be or not.
Yeah.
So we've got this notion of the private network, the doctors, I assume nurse practitioners are probably on the network as well, maybe physician assistants. You're in Canada, you're growing in Canada, you're looking to raise a Series A at some point to move into the United States in several states. But you're kind of in a unique position in the sense that pardon this phrase, but you've got the ear of the family, right? So you start with the seniors, but you've also got the parents on the line, and maybe even do the grandchildren get on the call sometimes, and the children.
Yeah, we have some tablets. We have like 3 generations on them, so it's kind of nice to see, and then that kind of creates the stickiness of well, you can't unsubscribe because then everyone will be disconnected. So this is kind of like the bridge or the moat.
Oh, that's very, very clever. Yes,
the wedge kind of.
But what when I talked about the end game, I can't. It must have something to do with non-seniors in the family. I mean, the seniors, God love us, we're going to die. Yeah. Okay, so we're short-term customers almost by definition.
Yeah.
So how do you address the family as a whole?
Yeah. So as we're getting into the telehealth space, we'll be offering services that are down the road that will be tailored to the younger generation. We have now customers are reaching out saying, "Hey, I'm not a senior in a care community. How do I get this? How do I be part of this health network? I don't need the hardware." So we're now getting outside customers saying, "Hey, I need this." And so we're still developing a different model. It's more of an annual plan, but you would have a kind of a dedicated doctor from an individual standpoint. And so that's coming. We also had another market that's kind of opening up is small medium businesses is having this as a benefit for employees to have quick access to health. So we're getting to just listening to customers and saying, hey, and so, part of the startup life is, year two is you're still trying to get that product market fit, and some things will start growing outside of your scope. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Now let's talk a bit, if you would, about the difference in healthcare in Canada versus the United States. Let's start with Canada,
yeah.
and everything's part of the health service, right? In Canada, what's the health service name in Canada? What do you call it?
Well, we our federal it's in there. We have a federal health program, and then each province runs their own. So if it's really not, it's a federal program, but it's individually run by each province. So
And a province is bigger than a state in the United States. It's like a region, right?
yeah, so British Columbia, for example, is 5 million people. What they would call that the province, right? But if
Yeah,
California is 30 million, so there's
yeah.
obviously, but within BC, there's like 5 different health regions. So some of them don't talk to each other. So it gets,
Within BC, there's five of them.
yeah,
Okay, so that's confusing. So, but basically, if you talk to a doctor on your platform in Canada, they are going to be part of this National Health Service,
yeah.
though
So they're part
may
of,
be
yeah,
administered differently, right?
yeah.
So then, shift focus, and now, you're contemplating moving to the United States, and all of a sudden, I don't know if you've heard, Jordan, but it's kind of a mess down here, um, in terms of
Well,
medical care.
it depends who you talk to. It depends what side you're on because people think it's a mess here. So,
Is that right?
yeah,
Is-
we're in the news probably every second day about a province or a healthcare system becoming an issue. So, we're
what?
losing actually a lot of doctors going to the U.S. because of the payment models and
Yeah.
so.
What typically goes wrong in Canada?
So that's a very open. That's I need a few days.
Other than everything, I mean, in other words, is it wait times, lack of availability, those kinds of issues?
I just think doctors, when you compare from doctors in the U.S. versus Canada, there's a huge pay gap between the difference of what doctors could make. Even in BC, some doctors can make 350 a year, but they could also make 1 million each. So there's still this big, large gap, and it's becoming like specialized where you often go specialized, and so you remove that GP, and so there's just more patients needing doctors, but doctors are specializing it because they're in the federal system based on their payment plan. So it's every doctor you talk to is just a different kind of story, but we're just losing doctors in a way where I don't know who really to blame other than there's just a different way of looking at it, and each province does it differently. So we lose
Yeah,
doctors to Alberta. Doctors come from Alberta here. It just depends on what stage your life in as your
yeah.
doctor. So
But when you come to the United States, dealing with senior citizens, for the most part, you're going to be dealing with Medicare and even Medicaid patients, right?
yeah,
So there actually will be a uniformity. And
yeah.
what is different about that when you come to the U.S.? Will it work differently? Will the care be identical? What will the differences look like?
I think the care will be the same, probably if not better, just because the how Medicare, Medicaid with insurance based. I'm not too familiar with it, but I know it'd be. We want to hit a gold standard here, so by next year it'll be better, just because we want to be better, and so we really want to involve individual doctor to see the family. We want that hands-on approach. We want that relationship that we used to have back in the day. Even when I was a kid, we used to be able to see Dr. Smith and see me, and we had a good relationship, and we're slowly losing that. So I want to recognize, there's a lot of good talent, physicians, nurse practitioners, you name it, that are maybe going abroad or leaving certain states or provinces. And so I think
Yeah.
we still got an uphill battle to go, but I go into like a strategic investment. I think, folks that have doctors on the platform already, that's where the synergies can lie. And so still TBD on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it strikes me that Medicare and Medicaid are, they're payment systems, right? And you know, as somebody who is on Medicare, it's the greatest thing in history. I mean, compared to what you had to do before. I mean, I've been through the whole cycle. It started out where everyone had healthcare through their work here,
Mhm.
and then it seemed like nobody did anymore, or very few people. And if you had to pay a lot of deductibles.
Mhm.
Things got expensive, even if you were on that kind of care. So Medicare, Medicaid is kind of like a best case situation, and what I mean by that is, with all the critics here of so-called socialized medicine, you will never see a conservative American who is eligible for Medicare turn it down.
Mhm.
Because it's a great plan,
Yeah.
So they may complain and say it's the end of. And Ronald Reagan, when it started, he said, "This is the end of freedom." That's a quote. You
Hmm.
know, this is the end of freedom. This and Social Security. So anyhow, it's a moving target. But will you? So I would assume that you would accept a Medicare and Medicaid um, option pretty readily. And what if people have spottier health care or less comprehensive coverage?
Yeah, and I don't know too much about how the U.S. plays in that market. So I think part of our growth in the U.S. is really understand it, get a few
Yeah,
consultants in a way where it's like they understand it more, and we'll have another year on growth in Canada, so we will define that scope a lot more.
sure.
But I don't know a whole ton. I'm just putting all my effort and energy in Canada just because it's something that is still changing a
Yeah,
lot. But I think U.S. is a completely different program and adoptability, but it's just I can't I don't know enough to comment on that space until
yeah.
we're
Well, let's finally let's talk about the future for Care2Talk. What do the First of all, how many months before you would hope to get to the Series A round?
we want to probably do because obviously the economic downturn, what's happened right now, and what's happened with the startups and VCs. We just want to go. Our hope is March, April, kind of next year is to start at maybe some early conversations in February, but kind of get after the last of Q4 over the holidays and see where the market is. But as you know, it's changing every week. There's layoffs happening, or funding cut short, or you just still there's a lot of uncertainty still.
It's funny because there's all kinds of problem in tech, all kinds of problem in startup financing. Venture capital seems to have dipped a bit, but the economy is actually doing pretty well
Mhm. Yeah.
from all indications. So it's a bit of a disconnect. And then what is sort of the upper? What is the ceiling on your business? Like how? Let's start in like British Columbia. What would be the penetration you would love to have in British Columbia among? Let's start with just seniors.
Yeah, like I think there's the issue where with senior programs in British Columbia, they're kind of bound by the government, so there's some regulation behind it. But we do see us as the kind of platform to adopt a program, so like license our software into be a program for seniors. Be like, if you're in a
Yeah.
care home that has XYZ, you'll adopt the Care2Talk platform because that will have the engagement, socialization taken care of, and then now a physician led. So what we see for the ceiling for us would be is to work closely with the governments and kind of white label our application to a product that could be now usable as kind of a ministry standard of kind of
Ah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
that would be nice, but it's a long journey. But it's interesting because we talk about innovation in our province, and we hire all these consultants to build it, but then no one maintains it. So it's kind of sad to see what the money as taxpayers go, but there is good talent and software in built in BC that could be definitely licensed and
Sure.
yeah.
Well, this has been the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me. You should also check out our podcast, The Angel. Please rate us, subscribe to us on all the major platforms, audio and Audible and Apple and Amazon and the like, and also on YouTube and for audio and video, Spotify. And you can find more about me on michaelconniff.com. CONNIFF.com. And don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of business on LinkedIn and meet a lot of people over there. But I want to thank profusely our guest, Jordan Schley. He is the founder and CEO of Care2Talk in beautiful, sunny Victoria, British Columbia. See, we got the plug in. We got the Tourism Canada plug, or Tourism British Columbia. Beautiful place up there for sure. Don't have to really exaggerate much to make that clear. But thank you so much for being our guest, Jordan, and we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. So
thank you for listening to the Accelerator, and we'll be back with another podcast before you know it.